and welcome to the Double Fall Podcast. I'm your host, Will, and I'm accompanied by my returning guest now and friend of the podcast, the co-editor-in-chief of Barstool Sports blog, Barstool Hubbs. Thanks for coming on again, Hubbs.
What's up, dude? Happy to be back.
Glad to have you back on. That was a lot of fun during Roland Garros. We've died down, regrouped back in society, and now I'm ready to go again and refreshed for Wimbledon, so I can't wait to get into the draw with you today.
100%. Yeah, Wimbledon's a beauty. I get some time off right now. I have the next 9 days off of work, so it always plays well into my viewing habits. I'll be up early with my new puppy anyways, so I'm stoked for it, man. Very, very excited to dig into the draw.
Yeah, now that, the NBA and NHL finals are concluded, there's really only tennis and baseball, so I think there's going to be...
So it helps.
Especially that's right up your alley, so, we're definitely going to have you on a couple of times this week, but...
For sure.
I'm glad to get into the draw here. So for each quarter, we're going to talk about beginning round matchups, some picks we like early on. We're going to give our round of 16 quarterfinal predictions, but let's start at the top of the draw with the 1 seed, lost in the Roland Garros final, Jannik Sinner's quarter.
The first thing that jumps out at me is that Sinner's only minus 400 to win the quarter, which feels enormously low for his standards. Obviously, grass is not his forte in the slightest. That leads me to believe that someone else is coming out of this quarter. And the hard part is it's tough to decipher who, but there's a lot of giant slayers lurking in this quarter. I'm not necessarily here to say that Ben Shelton can. I don't know what Ben's game is like. I don't know if it's there yet on grass to go deep in Wimbledon yet. It should be, but he hasn't really shown it yet. So I'm not going to take him. But a guy like Medvedev has turned into an all-court player. Tommy loves grass. Ugo is always dangerous. That guy,
yes.
when Ugo red lines and you're catching that forehand, good luck. And that's going to play on grass. Grigor, I feel like he had steam and then it kind of fell off and he gets injured now at every tournament. So
he's been hurt since Madrid. So it's tough to see what kind of form he's going to be going into his body.
Shapo's always dangerous, and I urge myself to not get tricked in the Shapo, but his game on grass is worth noting. I'm not really counting.
He's made a Wimbledon semi before.
He has, but how far long ago was that?
That was 3 or 4 years ago, I think.
Yeah,
at this point. Yeah, Shapo and the Canadians are always seducing.
They are. His game is slowly coming back. I just don't know. I just don't think I can pick him. So I think someone out of the Mazzetti, Ugo, Tommy Paul comes out of the quarter. That's how I read this.
Sinner?
Over Sinner. Yeah, I just don't. I think that Sinner 400 line is tricking you into taking it. Or oh my God, I just have to lay 40, to win 10 or 400 to win 100, the easiest 100 ever. I think they're begging you to do that, and if that was 600 or 700, I'm backing off of what I'm saying here. But I'm just spooked by that 400 line. I think the number one player in the world should have more respect than that.
I agree, and I think if you look at the future odds, it's pretty much everyone on Carlos's side of the draw has just massive odds. Because the fact that Carlos has won this tournament the past 2 years, there's a lot of data on him to be the heavy favorite here. So kind of to your point, Sinner has not shown yet that he is that deserving of a big favorite line on grass.
Mm-hmm.
But I think kind of the opposite thinking from you, where that is a good line for Sinner. Because he hasn't had the results yet on the short sample size on grass, because it's only a month long, coming off the Bublik loss, not really, showing his best tennis in Wimbledon yet. This might be a good spot to buy into Sinner, because Shapo in the third round might be fun for the first set. I don't really think Tommy Paul can.
There. He's getting deeper than that. Yeah.
If Shapo even gets to the third round,
right? He can lose to them. Yeah, he can lose to the British dude in the second round, Lofogin. I don't know.
I'm not too familiar with him.
I just know he's a favorite immediately, and he's a British dude. He's got to have some sort of. I think he's minus 200 in that match or something. So that's got to. I know Pedro Martinez isn't a grass court player by any means, but when
Yeah,
a
but
guy who I don't know the name of is minus 200, it catches my eye, basically.
agreed. It's like you've never heard of him before, and it's like, why is he a huge favorite here? It's like
Yeah.
the books
So,
know
but
something
like
you don't.
the the immediate scare would be Tommy, right? Tommy's got the qualifier Monday, who I think they're playing on Monday, so that's terrifying. You don't want to play a guy named Monday on Monday. But he's a big favorite there. Medvedev is going to be interesting, but Offner's going to give him hell. That's going to be a tight match. I feel like that could be one of those 5 set,
Yeah,
ones that are going hours on hours because those guys are big servers. Um, I like Medvedev, but I could see Offner scaring him there. I don't think the odds are too. They're pretty tight there.
yeah, and
Um, yeah. So I don't know. So I think it's a pretty good draw for Tommy. Now I don't know what
until he
you know.
gets to center, though.
No. I understand. I'm saying to get to center.
Yeah,
It's a pretty good draw for an early. Like he doesn't have an early spot there that scares me. Grigor would be a third round matchup for him, but by that point, Grigor might be exhausted physically. Now I don't know what state Tommy's in. Like what's that
well, yeah, I was
attitude,
about to
right?
say
So like
he just lost in Eastbourne, like was the first round. Yeah, he
right.
lost to
So
Dan Evans. That's a
now
concerning loss for him.
yeah, Dan Evans is a bum. If you he's gonna slice you. He's the most boring
Oh,
tennis player I've ever
100%.
watched in my life. If you it's that's the gamble, right? Obviously, like what state of health is Tommy in, and the early signs are not great. So maybe you are right. Maybe I am overthinking it, and is it just Mazzetti who can take him out? And like, do you at the end of the day, if it's Sinner versus Mazzetti to win the quarter, are you really taking Mazzetti? What's that line even look like? What's Sinner against Mazzetti? Is it 500? Is it
Yeah, I
450?
think
I
it
don't
would
know.
be like, can Musetti win a set? That's what the line would be set at, I
I
think.
like him though, man. He's such a gamer, and his game has evolved big time, and he knows
Well,
how
the
to
thing,
play grass at this point. I don't know.
yeah,
I
I think underrated, what people, you see Shelton, you're like, oh, he should be good on grass because you look at the serve and, like the
Yeah, it's just
offensive
not there yet.
weapons. But guys like Tommy Paul, guys like Musetti, they have the footwork that is necessary on grass. Because if you watch Alcaraz play on grass, he's taking so many little steps. Like his legs are moving constantly because like the lack of traction on the surface is just tough to maneuver for these guys. So that's why
100%.
if you have great foot speed like a Demonor too, you can move well on grass where these other guys are sliding everywhere, can't get their legs underneath them. So that is like a valuable trade that people don't always think of on
Yeah,
grass is the footwork.
and Mazzetti, I think it's slept on. He was a semifinalist here last year.
Yeah, he took that Taylor Fritz in a 5 set thriller in like the quarterfinals. I think
So
everybody probably would take, Fritz over him in that
honestly,
scenario.
if we're let me pull up, let me see Mazzetti's path here real quick. So Bashvili, always interesting with him because he's got a lot of firepower.
Yeah.
Uh, but Mazzetti should be smart enough to navigate that. I feel like a smart player beats Bashvili and just knows how to
Yeah, he's
maneuver
too
him.
erratic.
He's
Musetti could just
also
wait
not a
for
health
errors
guy.
and
He's
beat
never
himself.
healthy. He's never healthy either. That
Yeah.
guy. Sonego has had a nice little run here. I feel like he's starting to rack up a little bit of wins, but no. Nakashima, Opelka, Shevchenko, no. So you know what? If I'm gonna make a pick here, it's Mazzetti plus 1100 to win the quarter. That's my pick.
I like that because I think it's going to be an all Italian quarterfinal with Musetti and Sinner. But I think I'm a little different from you. I would not sleep on two guys, Mute and David Goffin. Because David Goffin, he's been in rough form and he's recently coming off an injury. He was recovering from a partial tear in his plantar fasciitis.
Not a
So
good
that might
injury to have
that's not a good injury,
for a
but like
sport that requires you
maybe
to run for 5 hours. Not a
yeah.
good injury to
But
have.
grass is a little different. So like going into
You're,
this,
you're right.
I was looking at GoFan, but I think I'm probably going to take Shelton over him.
Didn't he have
But
bad odds though in his first round? I swear that was a name
yeah,
that.
he's a Rinky Hijikata in the first round for GoFan, and he's actually the underdog.
So that's not like that doesn't make me feel good at all. If I'm like I feel like that's a
Yeah,
Rinky isn't that special. Like
yeah, it's true.
that's not
Agreed. So that
I'm
makes
not
me
there. I
feel like
can't get
he's probably not healthy.
I can't get there with you with Go fan. The other who was the other person you said?
The other guy I was looking at is Mute.
Yeah,
because
so Mutet.
he's got Grigor in the second round, which obviously the physical
Yeah, yeah,
concerns,
yeah.
and then it would be Tommy in the third round. And if we have a little concern about Tommy,
Yep.
Mutet is a very dangerous grass player
He had a
because he
big
has an
win. He had a
excellent
really nice win
slice.
today. He had a
Yeah,
nice win today.
yeah. Who did he play today? I forget that one.
I took it live to him to win the second set. Oh, Mickelson,
Oh yeah, and Mickelson
who
is
isn't exactly the smartest tennis player in the world, and if you bring him close, it's not exactly what he wants to do. But Mutet was serving really well, and very smart, and just getting serves in, and I think he beat him in a tiebreak in the second set. Not
yeah.
easy to beat Mickelson in a tiebreak because of his serve, but okay, I can get you. It's tough to wrap my head around Mutet making a deep run at Wimbledon. Like what could his deepest run be possibly at this tournament? Let's see.
Well, if I think if he gets to Tommy, that would be like Tommy wins in like a really tough 5 set match.
Mutet's deepest run at Wimbledon is a second round appearance.
Yeah, that's a little concerning.
2019 and 23. And like you can see it too, his game is obviously built more for the clay and for the like the slower US Open court.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
but the thing is with grass too, like backspin is very valuable. Like if you can slice and then the drop shot is very valuable in grass
And
because
he's got
again,
that for sure.
and
He's
he
a great
has
net
that in
player.
his bag, and he has
Yeah.
excellent touch at net, and he's a crafty motherfucker. Like
You could also
he
see
does.
him like a little serve and volley from him sneaky because he's so skilled at the net.
And again, like I said before, with the footwork, he has that short, little quick steps to get his footing underneath him on the grass court. So I think Mutet is a guy to look out for. Gofan probably not because of the injury, but I think Mutet, like if he upset Tommy Paul and then got to Sinner in the fourth round, like I don't think that's like out of the realm of possibility.
I hear
But
you. I hear
I
you.
do like your
Yeah.
Musetti pick though, because I think Musetti gets to Sinner in the quarterfinals.
And that to me it makes it worth it because um if it's Sinner Musetti in the quarterfinal, Sinner isn't minus 2,000 in that matchup. So you
Oh
have
no.
great odds there. Like you're like realistically Sinner's 600 max there, I think on grass. Maybe lower. So then if you're holding a plus 1100 ticket, it's just worth the flyer at that point. So yeah, I'm going to stick with Musetti.
Okay, I like that. I'm gonna go with Yannick. We'll get into how far I think Yannick can go
Mm-hmm.
later into this, but I do have Yannick winning that quarter against Musetti.
Okay.
And then let's move into the second quarter in the top half of the draw, the Jack Draper quarter. Also, you could call it
Good
the
luck,
Novak
Jack.
Djokovic quarter because he's also won this tournament 7 times, 4 in a row pretty recently. He's been in the recent 2 finals against Alcaraz. Last year, he was a little hurt during this tournament and lost in 3 sets. The year before that, one of the best matches of all time against Carlitos in that 5 set thriller in 2023. But I'm curious to see what you think of Draper in this home crowd on the grass conditions.
He's the higher seed, obviously, in this quarter. He's plus 250 to win the quarter. That's not a good sign if you're just not the favorite to win your quarter. It's just a bad
Yeah,
start. And honestly, it's not great when the favorite is a guy who you don't really know what you're getting out of Novak, from tournament to tournament at this point. It helps that did he play a match since the French? Did he? Did he play at all?
I think he was doing some exhibitions recently, but
He lost to Kachanov today in an exhibition. I saw that straight sets,
yeah,
but like throw those results out the window. That could be him.
yeah.
Just
Now he
trying.
hasn't played any official ATPs
Okay,
during the
so that
grass
helps.
season.
Like he's fit. Like he's that, and yeah, you can if you ask Novak, hey, the start of the year, what slam do you think you can win? It's Wimbledon, obviously. Like that. That's just like he knows it better than anyone on obviously besides Carlos, but way more experience on Novak's side at this point in the entire tour. So I guess that's a fair line.
Oh yeah,
I don't love Draper's chances here. I think he got I would say probably I think consensus would say he has the worst draw of anybody in the entire tour right now.
for the top seeds.
For a top seed.
Yeah. I mean, if you have to go through Djokovic in the quarterfinals, Sinner in
Bro,
the
not even
semis,
that.
and
Bublik,
Alcaraz in the finals, like it doesn't get much harder than
but
that.
not even that. Bublik in the third round is
Oh
immense.
yeah, exactly. Bublik is so dangerous.
And if you get past there, you're looking at Mensik. If Mensik's there, so you're talking Bublik and Mensik before you even think about playing Novak. That's a nightmare.
That's so true.
And This is
And
the tour.
Chilich in the round two, honestly, isn't even that like easy of a.
I actually forgot. I didn't even see Chilic's name here. Yeah,
Yeah,
Cilic, the guy who obviously has played very well Wimbledon in his life. I don't know
yeah,
what
that's not like
shape
an
he's in.
easy buy in the second rounds. Like
Yeah.
that could
Also,
be interesting.
I'm assuming he's a dog in that Kalagan match, but
Yeah,
he's just way older. But if he were to somehow win that in straights, and he's like fit enough, like that's not when you want to play Marin Cilic. Like in the
yeah.
second round at Wimbledon, like that's when he's going to have his energy. So yeah, that could be a nightmare. Oh, and then factor in also the pressure of just being at home.
Well, yeah, Andy Murray dealt with that his entire career. You know, that British media is brutal.
Brutal.
And
Now,
the
like Draper's
expectations they put on their homegrown talent are just like, how do you expect them to perform? You know, it's like,
Draper's also though like Draper's too young in his career now to like be like considered not living up to expectations and all
well,
that. Like
he's also only made it to the second round of Wimbledon. It's not like
yes,
he's made a deep run yet
no.
because
So
I actually don't think his game translates well to grass, to be honest. I think he has better tools. Like he's not going to like be awful on the grass, but I think the way his style translates way better to the hard courts and maybe even better to clay because the heavy topspin that he can generate on his forehand, like topspin is not as valuable on the grass courts.
okay,
It's more favors flatter strokes. That's where Nadal had to learn the transition from the clay to the grass is you don't get rewarded for that heavy topspin like you do on clay on a grass court. So Jack has the ability to flatten out his forehand, but I think like just the way his game is tailored, I don't think he's like perfectly well suited for grass conditions. Is my
okay,
point.
that's fair. Hey, that's I feel like I bring like the reading lines aspect to this duo, and you bring the actual like tennis like IQ, which I obviously just don't have. So that's very interesting information that like I learn every time when I talk with you, which is good.
Yeah, appreciate that. I've been playing a lot of tennis, so
Yeah,
we got a lot of
sure.
people around me that teach me all this stuff, so I appreciate it. And that's what the other thing, it's all about the individual matchups. Like I like power ranked the grass people or the grass power rankings in my head before
Uh-huh.
Wimbledon draw came out, and then it's all kind of thrown out the window because it's all dependent on which guys play each other and how they stack up. So that's
Okay.
why this draw is great to look through the hypothetical matchups, but once we actually get them, that's when like the
Yeah,
real you
for
can
sure.
really kind of envision what's going to happen. But
For sure.
another speaking of Draper though, do you take the risk? Do you think Bublik is worth a chance to beat him in the third round? Because I
100%.
I think it's worth that. He might
Dude,
be a dog in that matchup, but I mean he's got a good chance to
it's
win
gonna
that.
be razor tight if he's a dog though. Like there's gonna be a ton of respect on his end. I mean, not only did Bublik just obviously rip off a great run at the French Open, which included beating Draper, who you're saying out loud that you think the clay might benefit Draper more. Bublik just beat him there, and Bublik is a hell of a lot better on
Way better
grass.
on grass, yeah.
Way better on grass. And Bublik just went through Hala and won. So,
Yeah.
like, I would say Bublik's favorite in that match.
Or like a pick'em or something. Like I would put because when I made my power rankings for the grass, season, I put
Yeah.
Bublik ahead of Draper. I had Bublik like number 7 and Draper number 8, and that was before the draw came out. And I'm like, oh, they're playing each other. This is like trying to prove my theory that this works.
The
And I
one thing
think,
is, like, obviously, you just really don't know what you're going to get with Bublik. Like, he could just wake up wrong one day and just be pissed off and not want to do it. But if there's one tournament in the world where you think you can guarantee his focus, you'd think it'd be Wimbledon, right? Especially,
yeah,
like, at his age, he's in that. I think a lot of people are going to draw comparisons to, when Kyrgios made his run to the final. And it was like the one year he focused. And it was like,
yeah,
wow, it's crazy what it looks like. We're kind of seeing that exact thing right now with Bublik.
yeah,
Similar age too, right? I feel like he's
yeah.
right
Like
around
later in
30
their
when he
careers.
was doing it. So it's really like that's a scary fucking guy to play in your draw. Like a big server like that who is he knows this surface very well and is coming into it with success. It's a nightmare for Draper. So yeah, I think Bublik is for sure getting through that, and then it would be Bublik. I think you're getting
Mensick.
Bublik.
Yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
Bublik
Sorry.
can outsmart Mensik at this stage in Mensik's career. I think he might be a little too early for that, and that's if Mensik gets to that point. Like I don't think he's going to lose to Hugo Gaston, or Marcus Giron or Ugo Carabelli, but
He could
maybe a
lose. He
Cobel,
could lose to Garon. He
maybe a
could.
maybe a Pennington Jones. That's an interesting guy to look at. A Cobelli, Giron's right up there with one of the more boring tennis players to watch.
Yeah, he
With
doesn't really
Dan Evans.
inspire many fans.
Those guys play together. I could just fall asleep, no problem. But no, so I like Bublik's chances here to get to the quarterfinal. I really do. I think and I think the odds reflect that too, with it being just plus 600 for Bublik. It's just
And
a little suspicious to me. And then if Novak's there, then we're getting Novak Bublik, which would be hilarious and
that would
probably
be
wouldn't
so
go
entertaining.
so entertaining. It probably wouldn't go Bublik's way because Novak is such a tactician, and he could just keep enough balls in play to disrupt Bublik's concentration, but he's got to get there. So
Yeah.
Mueller obviously isn't great. He had a funny tweet, I think, or something like. I think it was Mueller. It was like, "Are you kidding me with this draw?"
Yeah,
Something
he
like
was
that.
like, "No, God, no! I got
Yeah.
Djokovic round one." Like,
Yeah, and then you're getting Dan Evans and Jay Clark in the second. That's a breeze.
yeah, fast forward Djokovic to the fourth round, pretty much.
Yeah, Mickelson, Kasimanovic, De Jong, Eubanks, no shot. You're talking about an Alex de Minaur whose grass isn't his strong suit by any means because it's very fast and he can't get to every ball there.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that
What?
because de Minaur, like grass,
What?
his game is kind of built for grass, to be honest.
Has he had the success though?
I think he made. I'm not sure, to be honest, how deep he is, but against, like not Djokovic or elite level talent, I think de Minaur is pretty high up there.
He made the quarters last year. He like Mazzetti has developed an all court game.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and
He just doesn't have the serve really to
yeah,
win
he does,
points.
but what de Minaur has is the returning. De Minaur is like a top 5 returner on tour, like
He is.
pretty much every year. So like the one thing on grass, like obviously if like Ben Shelton hits a high percentage of first serves in, he's gonna win. But on those second serves, de Minaur is getting every ball back. And he also, like I said before, he's kind of like Federer, where he has that Eastern grip and hits his forehand very flat. Medvedev, very flat ball. On grass, the ball skids low, and the guy's got to pick it up. And de Minaur, if you're de Minaur and Tommy Paul are also similar, where they're not great at generating their own pace, but they're very good at redirecting pace. So de Minaur, he's quick in and out of the quarters with his footwork, and then he quickly changed direction. So he causes his opponents to move a lot on grass, and on grass it's hard to move, and he moves better than most guys. So that's like why I think he's a great grass player. And I think we see de Minaur get to Djokovic. That's a tough matchup for him, but
I'm overlooking him too much. I'll admit that.
Yeah. Demon, he's like a great guy to just like get into the quarterfinals or the fourth round and then just like lose to the better player. Like he does have that ceiling for his game, like you said.
He's got that Rublev ceiling.
Yeah, like he doesn't. If he did have that like first serve and that like Federer forehand, he would be incredible, and he would probably be at the top 5 in the game. But he doesn't have that in his bag.
He's. I feel like he's just maxing out what he physically can do, and he's done a good job of it. But it's just not his peak is like 8 in the world or something like that.
He's like the perfect like top 10 gatekeeper. Like never really gonna compete to win slams, but he's always gonna be deep in these tournaments. But I think Djokovic, like we said before, he has a way better chance at Wimbledon than does at Roland Garros. The way he can pinpoint serves. Again, he is the best returner, so he neutralizes all big servers. And then like how he is from the baseline, I think I would be surprised if Djokovic doesn't get out of this quarter. And I think the big thing when we were seeing the draw came out, like everyone knew 1 and 2, Carlos and Sinner on opposite sides. The big question was, what half is Djokovic on? Who has to play Djokovic in the semifinals? Because there is a clear divide on tour and definitely on grass that it's 1, 2, and 3, Sinner, Alcaraz, Djokovic, in whatever order you want to put them.
Yep.
And then there's a gap. So like
A
I kind of
massive
like
gap.
how in
Yeah.
that other fourth quarter gap, there's like a bunch of guys like Fritz, Zverev, Medvedev, and we'll get into that next. But it's
I like what you're saying.
hard.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
hard
I hear
not
what
to
you're saying.
pencil in Sinner, Alcaraz, Djokovic into the semifinals because I
So
think
you're
they
going
are
chalk
just
with
better.
you're going chalk with Novak and Sinner.
Yeah, I think in this quarter, I have Bublik beating Draper in the third round. I have Bublik beating Mensik in the fourth rounds because I'm not 100% confident in Mensik on grass yet. I think grass is a very short season, and you have to be wary of these young guys because experience and learning how to play on grass is takes time.
Yeah.
So this season is only like a month long. Guys play two tournaments, maybe. Not a lot of prep on grass growing up until you get to tour, really. So I'm not really confident in buying in on these young guys yet, especially
Do
Mensik.
you see
So I kind of
Mensik as
like,
a? Do you think Mensik is a future very good Wimbledon player? I feel like his
yes,
game
I think he
works for
is
that.
in like 3 years. Like I think he is
Yeah.
going to learn to be, but I think it's a little ahead of
He's still so
schedule right
young. I
now.
think people
He
people forget
he's
how young he is.
19.
Yeah.
He's like pretty much the same age as Fonseca. Like they're like a couple months apart, but
Yeah.
yeah, I like Bublik to get over that. And I mean, it seems like a risk, but and it's tough for me to not want to overreact to him beating Sinner because that was like pretty much in very, quick grass conditions in Halle, pretty much indoors. Like it was a lot of like serving offensive stuff. So
Yeah.
Bublik kind of redlined for that entire match, and you can do that in 2 out of 3 sets. But now we're going to 3 out of 5 Wimbledon. So that's the worry with Bublik is like, can he maintain a high enough level and consistent level enough to win these, longer matches? I think I like the matchup against Draper. Like it if he gets against Mensik. Don't like it if he gets against Djokovic. Like you said, Djokovic is going to know exactly how to beat him coming into that match.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think Djokovic is going to win that in like a 4 set match where Bublik like really plays unbelievable one of the matches.
Similar
And I
to
think
similar to when he played Kyrgios a couple years ago. Yeah. Same
yeah,
kind of
so
deal.
like he figures him out the first set, and then all of a sudden he's a completely different player for the rest of the match and ends up winning it. So I think we get that Sinner Djokovic epic semifinal that when we first saw the draw, that's exactly what everybody was looking at.
Yep. I agree with you.
And
I agree with you unless Bublik is there against a non-Djokovic, then Bublik's winning the quarters. But if Djokovic is there in the quarters, Djokovic is advancing.
agreed. Like if Demonor somehow takes out Djokovic, or there's
Yeah,
some
then I
other
love Bublik's
reason with
chance.
Djokovic doesn't is there, Bublik could very well be in the semifinals and rematch Sinner, which would kind of be a cool storyline.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, I think it's going to be Novak versus Sinner because I have way too much respect for Novak, especially at Wimbledon. So let's move down into the bottom half of the draw. Who might reach them in the semifinals as well? Let's
Mm-hmm.
get into technically the Alexander Zverev quarter, but I think I'm going to call this the Fritz slash Medvedev quarter because I don't have a lot of confidence in Zverev's game on grass, especially at Wimbledon. He's only
I don't have
made
a
the
lot of
fourth
confidence in
round
Zverev's
here. He's
game.
made it twice. Like on paper with his big serving, like he should be good on grass, but the low ball heights, the mental like stability you need in these
That's
tight
the one.
matches where like one break can really ruin you. Like everything, all the like minute details that you need to be a great grass court player, Zverev clearly doesn't have, and
Mm-hmm.
that's like why he hasn't had the success on grass throughout his career. So I'm not really confident in Zverev to get through this quarter at all. I think it's actually a great spot for Taylor Fritz to rebound his season because it now seems that he's finally getting healthy and he's recently coming off a title. I believe that was in Stuttgart. And honestly, a pretty brutal draw for Fritz, but
Yeah.
overall in grass, I think if he can get through that, I like him later on in the tournament.
Taylor's got to worry about GMP right away. I mean, that
Well,
is
yeah, that's one of the must watch first round matchups. Not a lot of exciting points, but I think like GMP, if he, of course, red lines, that's going to be very tough for Taylor to navigate.
Taylor should be smart enough to win that match.
Agreed.
But if GMP's serve is just lights out, there's really not much you can do, and there's going to be what 2 or 3 tie breaks in that match. If it could go 5. It could be literally just 5 tie breaks, and a tie break against GMP if you fuck up one time, if you get to a second serve and he just uncorks a backhand, like rip, like there
Yeah.
goes the tiebreak. Like if he's just it's just a really really dangerous matchup, and the odds reflect it. It's only plus 280. I'm
Oh,
seeing.
really?
That is terrifying if I'm Taylor Fritz.
Do you
But
know the game spread on that one?
I could find it
Because
real quick.
I don't think GMP can break Fritz though. That's the thing. Like GMP is only going to win sets in tiebreakers for the
Yeah.
most part because I think Taylor is, he's incredibly strong on serve, so it's less the matchup is less dependent on Taylor serving well. Like GMP needs to serve well, but Taylor is going to win a high percentage of second serve
Mhm.
points, especially with how much better his forehand is than GMP. And so like that's why I think if Taylor has like a what's the do you know the game spread?
So the over under is 45 and a half games. That's a ton of
Ooh,
games.
that's huge.
Yeah, it's enormous. That means like they're almost guaranteeing you at least two tie breaks there.
Yeah.
And then the game spread is 3.5 at plus 105. So if you take it to 2.5, it's minus 175 for Taylor. I don't think any of that spells well for Taylor.
Yeah, that's tough odds. They're really just
For me,
giving
I'm
credit
just
to
taking the
GMP
over
on
there.
serve.
I'm just taking the over there, and hopefully it goes four sets, and we get two tie breaks, and I win the over. Like that's kind of what I'm
Yeah.
hoping.
Could be three or
Because if you
four
get
tie
two tie
breaks.
breaks, it's 26 games. So then I'm going to need another 20 games to hit my over there. And if it goes four sets, I'm getting that. So in my mind, I'm taking the over, and I'm hoping for four sets.
Yeah, like don't let the high number scare you off because there's a reason why it's that high. Like these guys
100%.
justify it,
100%.
completely.
100. I wonder if you can just bet. Let's see tiebreak props. Hilarious.
Yeah,
That the
like
only
over
well,
two and a
just
half
one,
tie breaks.
just for there to be a tiebreak is minus 2,500. That's very funny.
Wow, that's crazy.
There
So
is a
basically, there.
scenario where Taylor just breaks him, just finds a way, and you're like you said, doesn't get threatened on his serve at all, and then this is over really quickly. That is a possibility with GMP. It just happens from time to time.
Yeah,
But most likely he's gonna be locked in. His serve will be flying, and we're gonna have a lot of games.
agreed. I do think Taylor gets by there though, but he does not have any free rounds here because he's looking at a potential
Yeah,
matchup with Diallo in the second round, who is recently coming off a title, and then Fokina,
big
who
developments in his game for sure. And honestly, if it's not him, Altmaier is always lurking in a Grand Slam. That
agreed.
guy lives to just knock out a top seed. Always does it, and then they'll lose the round after.
Agreed. But on grass, I'd probably lean Diallo. Altmaier is more
Yeah,
of like a clay guy.
he is.
But Fokina in round three, like Fritz just went three sets with Fokina. Like that's not a gimme in the third round. So
No,
Fritz has to go through maybe the toughest first three rounds for all these top seeds, and that's just to get to Medvedev. Like Medvedev is so underrated on grass. He's been in the semifinals like the past 2 years, I believe. Last year he lost to Carlos. He beat Yannick in the quarterfinals in five sets. The year before that, he got to Carlos in the semifinals. So I
and his
like
games look
Daniil.
his game has looked better too of late. I feel like.
Recently he's getting, the issue with him in the beginning of the year was he wasn't getting those the free points off serve or those quick points off serve. And Daniil's entire game is built off I'm going to hold as quick as possible, and then I'm going to make your return games as long as possible and try
Yeah,
to draw that out. And now that Wimbledon has kind of slowed down their conditions a little bit, they put clay underneath the grass a couple inches to try to make, the conditions slower to breed more rallies, better for TV, better for viewing. That works for Medvedev because he still
yeah,
gets the advantage of being a big server, but he also is an excellent returner. So his deep position, he gets a lot of looks at it. He hits a naturally very flat ball, which
yeah.
excels on grass because it skids more. So Medvedev is a tough out. And I think beating Sinner last year, that's a testament to his acumen. I think he's a bad matchup for Carlos against Carlos on grass. And that's why we've seen Carlos kind of dominate that. And maybe people just see him get killed by Carlos and it's like, oh, he's not good on grass. But Medvedev, I think I would put at like that 4 or 5 spot after Djokovic, Sinner, Alcaraz in contention for that because I think he's at
I
that
also
level and now that he's
yeah.
playing better, like he could be there for sure.
I also really would. I don't think much of Medvedev's path here is difficult. Bonsai is interesting, right? Because he's a big server, so you might get a few tie breaks there, but Medvedev can't lose to that guy. Come on.
Yeah, no way.
Thompson is okay on Capriva, short. What? No, Medvedev's beating those guys. Darderi is not a grass court guy. Safulin should probably just beat him in general. Poprin is the interesting one, obviously.
Yeah,
Big server. Um, if it's raining that day and you're playing Poprin, that ball's going to be popping underneath the dome. So Medvedev Poprin is interesting, but Medvedev, none of these guys are like, I'm really worried about Medvedev's game here. So I
yeah.
feel like we're both leaning towards picking Medvedev here.
Against Fritz.
Yeah, just to come out of the quarter. Plus 350. I think the odds reflect it too. I feel like if they faced each other, Medvedev would be favored. Or would be very close.
I think the winner of this Fritz Medvedev gets out of the corner for sure. But I don't know. Part of me wants to pick like a resurgence for Fritz here and get over that Medvedev hump because I think
You do have
you
to.
know
Fritz loves to lose early in a slam, though. Like, there's a
like
chance he
that's
doesn't
the
even get to Medvedev.
yeah, like if we're filling out a bracket, I would pick Medvedev here. But if we actually get this matchup and Fritz is playing well enough to get by GMP, to get by Diallo, to get by Fokina, like it's going to be hard to not be like, okay, Taylor Fritz is playing really well right now. I think
Yeah.
it's more likely that Medvedev gets to the fourth round. If they play each other, like that's such a hard matchup. I kind of like that matchup for Fritz, to be honest, because I think his forehand is the biggest weapon on the court. Fritz, I don't like his movement at all. He doesn't have the natural net game that or transition to net game that you
No,
would want on
he has
grass.
never taken his net game to the. Even despite losing that Nadal match, like he has never. Though it was so painfully obvious he needed to work on his net game and improve it, he never really took that step at his net game, which is really disappointing. The one thing Fritz does have on his side is he's played a shit ton of grass court matches leading up to Wimbledon. Like he
Yeah,
might have he is he like the only guy that played in 3 tournaments, and it happened to be because he lost in London right away. But like he played Stuttgart, won Stuttgart, beating Zverev hilariously again,
yeah.
um, losing in
If
London right away to Mutet, and then now he's in the semis of Eastbourne. Is it no? Is it finals tomorrow? Might be finals tomorrow. I forget how. I would think.
I think finals are usually Sunday,
I know, but not when
but
there's
yeah,
a
but with the
slam about to
Wimbledon,
happen.
yeah, I think the semis
I
were today.
I would think the finals are tomorrow. Let me see. Yeah. It's a final.
Yep.
Finals
Yeah,
tomorrow.
he plays Jensen Brooksby in the final tomorrow in Eastbourne. Brooksby, honestly, is he even in the draw? I don't even see him in the draw, but yeah,
He is in the
Brooksby is
draw.
it.
He,
Yeah, but
he is
yeah,
in the draw.
Fritz, I
He is in the draw, and I love his first round against
uh
Greek score.
oh really? Oh, that's an
Fritz
interesting
minus
matchup.
350. Minus 350 in that match is.
Oh yeah,
I would
yeah,
like my pick for that will be Brooksby to win a set. I don't know what it is. It'll probably be like plus a little bit. I like Brooksby to win a set.
I like
Um,
that. But yeah, let's finish up
but
this
yeah, like
quarter real
I,
quick.
I, I can't. Yeah, no, I can't just. If you're taking Zverev plus 220, then I don't really think you're just picking the guy who has the
The
lowest
higher
odds.
seed, yeah,
Zverev, you just can't trust him at all, and you can't trust him here. No thanks. My pick will be Medvedev. I don't think Berrettini is a sexy pick, obviously with his serve and his history at Wimbledon. My pick will be Medvedev.
yeah. I really want to pick Berrettini over Zverev, but Berrettini with his health recently is a concern. He's one of those guys like if he's healthy, he's gonna be one of the best grass court players, and I probably would lean him against Zverev. I'm not 100% sure about Berrettini's health going into this tournament, so that's a concern. But yeah, I think I'm definitely not picking Zverev. But in my
Yeah.
fourth round, I have Karen playing Zverev, and then I honestly don't hate like Karen Khachanov has a chance to beat Zverev in that matchup for sure. But I'm gonna take a chance on Taylor Fritz. I'm gonna say Fritz beats Medvedev if he gets there. If it's anybody else but Fritz, I think Medvedev gets through there and probably wins the quarter. But if Fritz plays Medvedev, I'm gonna go Fritz over Medvedev, Fritz over Zverev in the quarterfinals, and I think Fritz takes the quarter because I think he got to the quarterfinals last year against Musetti. This year has been such a downpour or such a downturn after making the finals in the U.S. Open and the ATP finals. Like, this is such a pivotal point in his season to turn everything around. And like you said, he played 3 tournaments coming in here. He's clearly valuing the grass season as a spot in his calendar where he can pick up points. So I think we're going to see a locked in Taylor Fritz. From what I've seen so far, he seems physically okay. And on grass, this is the least physically demanding surface. So that even bodes well to Taylor even more. So I'm going to take a chance on Fritz because I'm pretty sure Carlos is going to get to the semis, and I don't want to see him just beat Medvedev again for like the third year in a row. So that's kind of
Yeah.
baked into this a little bit. So I think I'm going to take a chance and take Fritz to make the semifinals.
I just don't like that Medvedev and Fritz are in their own mini region to get to the quarters, and they're Medvedev is the favorite there, plus 350 against plus 450. That to me just screams this is not going to go terrible. And the GMP match can go any which way. And like you said, Diallo's lurking. And honestly, like Botic Van de Scoop is lurking. That guy can take you out like at slam. So
Yeah.
I almost trust Medvedev just to get to the fourth round more than I do Fritz, and that is why I am taking Medvedev.
Definitely warranted. And this is like a win or lose my bracket if I have Fritz in the semis, because that's the trouble part is he can go out in any of these rounds. I don't see any like guaranteed quote unquote, wins here. But yeah, I could be wrong. He could easily lose to GMP or Diallo, but I want to believe in Taylor because he's had such a downturn. Like, this is a good buy low spot in conditions that favor him. Not the easiest draw, but we'll see how it goes for him.
We'll see.
But let's get into the final quarter here. Very interesting quarter with the 2-time defending Wimbledon champion, the number 2 seed, defending Roland Garros champion Carlitos Alcaraz. Don't really see much trouble for him for the first couple rounds until maybe he gets to Felix, but I don't see much trouble there either, especially the recent form Felix has been in the past couple of years. I have really no faith in him, but interesting guys here. Like Holger Rune is very intriguing to me. Like there's a couple of guys on the other side that I kind of want to watch their matches.
Sure. I was confused online that people were like, Carlos getting another brutal draw. I think this is the easiest. Like, I don't think there's anyone here that's really troubling him on grass. I really, like, Lehechka, maybe? But, like, no. Like,
Yeah,
Rune, I don't think Holger Rune has the consistency in his game right now to trouble Carlos on grass. Sure as hell not going to be Felix. Get out of here with him. Tsitsipas is going to lose immediately.
Yeah, literally. I have like Tsitsipas might lose round 1 like every year.
No, not might. I absolutely have Valentin Royer plus 270 over Tsitsipas in the first round. Absolutely. Why? Because I just don't know who that guy is, and that's embarrassing that he's only plus 270 against Tsitsipas.
He's actually pretty solid. I'm pretty sure he played in Indian Wells or something, and he looked pretty decent. So I'm not.
All right, that's all I need to hear. So yeah, I'm definitely taking that. So I don't think there's much here. I really don't. You can say it's not going to be Rublev. You can say Holger Rune. Francis has sneaky been playing consistently a little lately. I'm still not there. I don't know, man. Lehechka is really the only guy I would consider, and those are insane odds if you're taking Lehechka. Oh, actually, they're not. They're pretty respectable. They're 800 actually. So if it's not Carlos, it's Lehechka.
Probably. I think it's pretty much like a foregone conclusion, barring any injury or catastrophic something happening, that Carlos wins this quarter.
Yeah. Unless like Emma tells him like, hey, let's just go off into the sunset and forget tennis and let's start our lives. That's the only way I think he does.
Unless he gives up tennis for love and Emma Raducanu, I think that would be justified, honestly.
Yeah, that's like it. That's the only way. I don't see it.
But on the other side of this quarter, the non-Carlos side, to see who gets to the quarterfinals, one matchup I just really want to see as a tennis fan is if Holger Rune plays Fonseca in the third round. Joao, it's going to be very interesting. I know I said before, I don't like betting on young players to do well in the grass season just because it's so hard to learn how to play well on that surface. But if there was
Yeah.
going to be an 18-year-old to bet on the grass season, I think it would be Fonseca. Because even being a Brazilian, growing up on clay courts, his style translates to grass. Like, you can't, it's so easy to picture his ball striking and big hitting translating to this grass surface. So career wise, I'm very interested to see what Fonseca, amounts to on grass. If he gets to Holger, I think that is just going to be two names that you could see playing each other. I'm like, that's a match I got to watch.
I like that's all
I
great. I love Fernley in the first round against him, plus 160. I think that those
really,
odds very much everyone and their mother is going to be on Fonseca. Fernley has experience playing Novak last year here. I don't think he took a set, but they were like close sets if I remember. I just like Fernley's been playing a lot of matches lately. I very much like Fernley, so that would knock out anything I think of Fonseca here.
yeah, that's obviously
I
me
honestly think
dreaming.
the guy who could give
Or
people some
Greeks four in
trouble.
round two is just it's also tough for Fonseca. Talon round two, like it's not a given that Fonseca is going to get there at all. I agree.
I, I I think Brooksby can make a run. That's my guy. I think that he is a frustrating guy to play, and I think he did a little bit. He tweaked his serve a little bit, if I remember correctly, very recently, because he needed to do something to gain an offensive, because he's very defense obviously. I think Brooksby is the guy you might see like, how is he in the fourth round? That's someone who catches my eye here. I think he's going to beat I think he's going to beat Greek Sport. I think he'll beat Fernley, and then it will come down to Runa probably, or like Lerner Tien, who's very fun as well.
I
But
like
my
Lerner
pick is
Tien too.
Carlos.
Yeah, it's got to be
I don't like
Carlos.
Boss Ferretti. I really don't like Boss Ferretti, and I feel like he gets. I'm not in love with his game, but I like Lerner Tien a lot. Of like the young guys.
Yeah, for like the young American prospects coming up. I don't
Yeah,
like. I
yeah,
think I think Basha Ferretti is a little underpowered, similar to Tien, but
yeah,
Tien like navigates it a lot more. Has way better footwork, better slice. He has the leftiness to like kind of make people deal with that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
grass is a
Boss
little
Ferretti just
interesting.
kind of gets bullied. He just gets bullied too much early.
Yeah, but
He's still really young.
Tien isn't going to do that to him though. Like he can't do that to him. I don't think.
No,
Like so,
he
I
won't.
think
I was more just talking of like someone who can trouble
overall,
someone
yeah,
if they get past that round. Who's a
yeah. I
guy
actually
that
think
I think who Garonku would be frustrated with? I think it would be Tien, not Boss Ferretti.
agreed. I actually think Bassa Ferretti is going to beat Tien though. I kind of like his
Okay.
I like his baseline game a little bit more there, and he hits it a little bit flatter. But yeah, I think Holger. I mean, if he gets to Lehechka in the fourth round, that's going to be a really interesting matchup to see who loses to Carlos next. Maybe if
Mm-hmm.
it's Tiafo, but I'm going to be interesting to watch those matches just because I think they're going to be good matches. But I think the resistance is futile. I'd be shocked if we don't get Carlitos into the semifinals. Let's go real quick, just to wrap this up real quick. I had Sinner Djokovic in the semifinals and Fritz Carlos. Who did you have again?
I have Bublik, uh,
Musetti?
Bublik, Musetti, and then Medvedev, Carlos.
Wow, did I go chalk compared to you? I kind of like yours.
Yeah,
Grass is the one place where like you can have upsets because one break is pretty much the set. There's so many
yeah,
guys that are so good at holding serve. Like one break is the set. Like I said, like it's so hard to find breaks on grass against any of these guys. Like
yeah.
if there was a tournament to go against chalk, even though I'm not really, it might be Wimbledon. But
Maybe I'm underestimating Sinner's game, and the time off, and I don't know what that French Open loss did to him mentally. There's questions there as well.
true.
Um,
Like he's either going to
like
be
I,
way
I
better for that and just be in a machine, or that's going to like break him for a little bit, and he's going to have to refine himself.
I tell you what, it's not exactly the slam he probably wants following that.
Yeah,
Sinner would
agreed.
most
He would
likely
love to be on the
Sinner
hard
would
court
much
right
rather
now.
the U.S. Open be next than Wimbledon.
Agreed. And Carlos has all the confidence going in here. Obviously, that's the final. I think tennis fans in general want. It would be such an interesting dynamic to see Sinner and Carlos go from the clay immediately to the grass. It'll be a completely different game, but probably still epic. So, I mean, it's hard
Yeah.
not to root for that as a tennis fan. Obviously, that's what I want. But I think, the level I think the odds are telling that Djokovic is not a big better odds than or closer in odds to Sinner. I think that's indicative that Sinner is 1A 1B with Alcaraz right now. That there is a gap
Yep.
right there. So I think if they play each other in the semifinals, I like Sinner finally getting over that grass hurdle. And I think you said you're a little worried about Sinner how he's going to rebound from that loss. I think it's like immediate. I think he beats Carlitos in the finals and takes his first Wimbledon here. I don't know. I
You were
know
out
it's
of
tough to see. I'm definitely a Sinner guy and probably biased, but I think people are just like discounting on him on this surface because he lost. Like, look at Alcaraz. He in 2022, 3 years ago, he lost to Sinner in 4 sets in the Wimbledon. The next 2 years doesn't have to play Sinner. He has to play Djokovic. He beats Djokovic in the finals. Everyone is like, Carlitos is unbeatable on grass. He hasn't played Sinner in 2 years. Yes, Djokovic, you could argue a better version of Djokovic was the one to take Sinner out and Medvedev last year, so Carlitos didn't have to do it. But I think the strides that Yannick has made in his game, especially like the past 2 years working with Darren Cahill, beefed up the
mm-hmm.
serve, beefed up the forehand. Those are two
Beefed up
major
other stuff.
factors to being a successful grass player. Yeah, but I think the version of Sinner I see. I think he gets over Djokovic. I think it's probably a toss up again against Carlitos, and then if I got to pick the underdog and the cool revenge story and the whole learning from the loss, I like that narrative with Yannick to get the first Wimbledon, but I'm probably a little biased there.
You pick with your heart. You're picking with your heart too much there.
As a fan should, Hubs. As a fan should.
Yeah,
if you're not rooting for the guys you support, what are you doing? Obviously I'm like, all right, Carlitos three-peats. Like,
yeah.
he probably is the next Federer on grass.
I'm going Carlos over Bublik. No, I'm kidding.
That would
Carlos,
be quite the...
That would be incredible. No, I actually think it could be. I think Mazzetti can do it. I think it'd be Carlos over Mazzetti.
I like that. Hopefully Musetti is healthy enough. I think it was smart of him to not play any lead-up grass tournaments because he had such a grueling clay season that I think his body just needed a break. So that was a good reset. And now I think he's going to be, pretty fit going into Wimbledon, hopefully. So, yeah, I like that pick. So you got Carlos. I got Yannick, like we probably always do every time we're going to pick these matches. But I can't wait for Wimbledon to start next week. The first couple rounds are going to be a fury of tennis. And yeah, anything else you want to wrap up before we end here?
No, I could just. I wrote down right before we hopped on. I just went through the whole first round, so I'm just gonna aimlessly. This first set is ones I feel strongly about. The other ones are more of maybe this can happen. Alex Bolt plus 265 over Sheldon. If that doesn't win, then the over will. Those guys are just gonna serve a bunch and not really return much. Bublik 3 over Jamie Munar plus 110. Royer plus 270 over Tsitsipas. Brooksby plus 140 over Griekspoor. Batista Agut minus 120 over Norrie. Jack Pennington Jones plus 175 over Echeverry. Botic Van der Scoop plus 135 over Alnaldi. Fernley plus 160 over Fonseca. Misiolic plus 110 over John Leonard Struff. De Jong minus 130 over Eubanks, and probably my favorite pick of the first round would be Dusan Lajovic over plus 140 over Billy Harris, the hometown kid. So that's a lot.
I love the deuce.
My stretches here will be a few guys that I really don't know. And I know I just said I love Musetti, but his first round odds are not the greatest. Someone named Masa Lajavli plus 320 over Mazzetti is terrifying. Laszlo Dejeri plus 290 over Rublev is interesting. Nicholas Jerry plus 250 over Holger Rune. Jerry's serve here, if it's going, could be a problem. Brandon Holt plus 265 over Fokina in the event that Fokina is just gassed for some reason. Kesimanovic over Mickelson plus 150. I really don't love Mickelson. Someone named Zukayev plus 275 over Kobeli. Just never heard of him. Those odds are ridiculous. We talked about GMP over Fritz. Searle plus 160 over Ethan Quinn. What else? Oliver Crawford is a guy I've never heard of, plus 235 over Bellucci. August Holgram, another guy I've never heard of, plus 550 over Quinton Halls. And Rodish minus 200 over PCB. Yeah. So those are my crazy ones because those are just odds of guys I've really never heard of that are they're just way too small. So
Yeah,
that's what I got. That's
that's not
emptying
a
the
bad
notebook for you.
that's not a bad strategy. I love going crazy. Obviously, if you're actually going to bet a lot of money, go a little light on the first round. We haven't seen any of these guys. Once we have data to see how these guys look on the grass for the first round, that's when I like to really pick up the betting. First round, I kind of keep it light, so look out on Twitter for me to post my first cards. But I love the rapid fires, and I'm definitely going to throw a lot of that in a parlay and try to go crazy because there's so many matches. It's like the first round of March Madness. It's like there's so many matches. It's so easy to get overwhelmed and pick what like the matches you're really confident in. But yeah, I like a lot of
Yeah.
those for sure.
I think the money to be made at slams is in those first rounds where you get those weird matchups. You could spot some crazy odds that like the public's just not going to see. As you get deeper into a slam and like it's just harder to pick from for me. But like, I really like French Open and Wimbledon first rounds. I love because it's some guys who I just listed who I've never fucking heard of who love grass or love clay and they really just jump on like no name guys. So that's kind of where I fire.
Yeah, I love that strategy because it's so easy to look at when the draw comes out and pick all the seeds to just advance. And then when the matches actually start, you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's losing. This guy's losing. Like, why is Berrettini
Yep.
down? Like, this guy was hurt. I had no idea. Like, it's like you just find out
Yep.
so much once the matches start. And man, I cannot wait for Wimbledon. I love how the Roland Garros and Wimbledon are so close to each other, and especially having that epic final. I feel like there's a lot of momentum around tennis and growing the sport recently. So I cannot wait for this Grand Slam.
Me too. Me too.
But
Can't wait. Can't wait for Monday. Let's get it rolling. Gonna be great.
definitely. Thanks for coming on, Hubs. Go follow Stool Tennis at Barstool Hubs. Look out for all of you guys' picks on Twitter. I'm sure you guys are going to be giving out picks on Pick Central as well. Definitely will need to call in
Yep.
for one of these days to talk some tennis now that all the sports have died down. So definitely we'll give a call in next week at some time. But thanks for coming on
Yeah,
again,
I
man.
was solo hosting today. You had a chance to call in today, but you probably are at work or something. So.
Yeah, I was at work. I think maybe Monday I have off, so I could try to call in to help you out. Oh no,
We're
now you have
off
off
all
next
week,
week.
though.
Yeah, you guys, I heard you hear
So
that.
the
I missed
second
my
week though, feel
chance.
free. Like if we're doing callers in the second week, feel free.
Definitely. But great
Yep.
talking to you as always, Hubs. Love talking tennis with a fellow fan, and thanks for coming on the Double Fall podcast.